Hello! Doesn't that popcorn smell great? My name is Lisa Jocelyn. I am the leader of digital storytelling on the Community College of Denver's campus, and it is my honor to present to you the 7th annual Digital Storytelling Film Festival, first year virtual. This year we have submissions from students from every discipline on campus. Well, not every discipline on campus. This year we have submissions from students ranging from biology to... We have a fun show for you today. Students have shared their personal perspective and their life experience through their curriculum video. This year is historic, not just because we're online, but because the number of student submissions is the highest it's ever been. So I hope your video got in, but if not, please try again next year. And with that, let's take it away.
It is believed and perceived that maternal mortality or maternal deaths mostly occurs in developing countries or third world countries, but it's amazing to also understand and know that these deaths equally occur in the US, where resources are in abundance compared to these developing countries. In the US, unlike some other developed countries, maternal deaths are treated as a private tragedy rather than a public health catastrophe. Therefore, one may even ask, what is maternal mortality? Maternal mortality is, by the World Health Organization, is a death of a woman while pregnant or within 42 days of termination of pregnancy, irrespective of the duration and site of the pregnancy, from any cause related to or aggravated by the pregnancy or its management, but not from accidental or incidental causes. This basically means that a death can occur whilst pregnant or within the period of the pregnancy, during childbirth, or after the pregnancy, after the birth of the baby. These deaths can also occur when there is a case of an unsafe abortion, or even safe abortion when something comes up during the procedure could cause death. In cases of ectopic pregnancy, where the pregnancy occurs in the tubes instead of the uterus, that is a huge problem, or that is something that can actually cause death of a woman. Regardless, there is still pregnancy, but that pregnancy occurred in the wrong place, which is very dangerous. According to the Center for Disease Control, CDC, every year in the US, 700 to 900 women die in the maternal period, which is the period of pregnancy or childbirth. But on the other side, in general, the top 5 causes of maternal mortality in the US are hemorrhage, cardiovascular and coronary conditions, cardiomyopathy, which is disease of the heart muscles, infection, and embolism. But all of them are also greatly exacerbated by 3 key factors, which are poverty, lack of access to care, and the impact of institutionalized racism on the quality of care, all of which disproportionately affect women of color. For 2011 to 2015, about 31% maternal mortality happened during pregnancy, 36% happened at childbirth or at delivery, and then 33% happened 1 week to 1 year postpartum. Black women or women of color were about 3 times as likely to die from pregnancy-related causes as white women. The complications of birth, which many of them are preventable, impose a huge financial burden on women, families, and healthcare system. Available data suggests the cost alone for caring for mothers with preeclampsia exceeds $1 billion annually, according to September 2017 report in the American Journal of Obstetric and Gynecology. California's Medicaid program paid more than $210 million to treat maternal hemorrhage and hypertensive disorders in 2011, both among the leading conditions associated in childbirth complications that severely caused maternal mortality. The racial disparity has persisted, even grown for years, despite frequent calls to improve access to medical care for women of color. 60% of all pregnancy-related deaths can be prevented with better healthcare, communication, and support, as well as access to stable housing and transportation. Researchers concluded the bottom line is that too many women are dying largely preventable deaths associated with their pregnancy, which was said by Dr. Anne Schultz, who is a principal deputy director of the CDC. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, which was not involved in a CDC report, recently acknowledged that racial bias within the healthcare system is contributing to the disproportionate number of pregnancy-related diseases among minority women. Every baby or child needs their mother from birth. It is just an honor and great to come home or come back from the hospital with your baby and see your child grow. But if we're dwelling on racism where we're not able, or women of color are not unable to access healthcare or even get better healthcare because of their color, that seems very unfair for a country as the United States, with these many years of helping other countries. Providing potential solution to the problem of poverty, lack of access to care, and the impact of institutionalized racism on the quality of care of Black women, government should provide financial stimulus to program that supports and encourage Black women in pursuing career mentorship program in healthcare. Also, there should be implicit bias training. This is compulsory training at institutions from the onset of classroom education, as well as workshops in the hospitals. Many Medicare providers do not cover or accept Medicaid when it comes to maternal health, since Medicaid is only accessible to people in low-income class. Mothers should be vocal about their symptoms regardless of their financial burden. For example, Serena Williams, who is very affluent, extremely vocalized her symptoms and was able to receive the needed services and care due to her wealth and access, which went a long way to have helped her.
In the United States, too many moms are dying around the time of childbirth. Every year, more than 700 mothers die from complications related to pregnancy and delivery, leaving behind grieving families as well as urgent policy questions about how we, as a country, can do better. Between the 1980s and 2010, the maternal mortality rate doubled in the United States. Clearly, births should be safer for moms in the United States. All moms. But it's not. Some moms are at greater risk. That's the topic of this week's Healthcare Triage. Black women are more than 3 times as likely as white women to die around the time of childbirth. Data from the CDC showed that between 2011 and 2013, white women had a maternal mortality rate of 12.7 deaths per 100,000 live births, while Black women had a rate of 43.5 deaths per 100,000 live births. These racial inequities are not explained by differences in education or income. For example, a 2016 study of data from New York City showed that college-educated Black women had a higher risk of severe maternal morbidity than a white woman without a high school diploma. The causes of maternal mortality and racial disparities in maternal mortality are myriad and complex. They can be grouped based on timing and include 1. Maternal health before pregnancy, 2, access to care and quality of care during pregnancy and childbirth, and 3, recovery support and access to care after childbirth. Many research studies document that the risks for maternal mortality are greater for Black women. For example, a 2007 study in the American Journal of Public Health looked at 5 of the most common and potentially fatal pregnancy-related complications and found that Black women were 2 to 3 times as likely to die as white women with the same diagnoses. Black women are also more than twice as likely as white women to initiate prenatal care late in pregnancy, which may derive from access barriers that relate to geography and health insurance. While public dialogue often blames Black mothers for these disparities, many experts who are much more versed in this than me believe that the true cause is racism. Commonly defined as prejudice plus power, racism is discrimination against someone based on his or her race. Racism can be manifested through beliefs, attitudes, actions, and policies. Structural racism is the systematic allocation of resources and opportunity based on race. It refers to the ways that institutions and systems operate together to produce outcomes that differ based on race, even in the absence of racist intent. Indicators of structural racism include power inequalities, unequal access to opportunities, and differing policy outcomes by race. Because these effects are reinforced across multiple institutions, the root causes of structural racism are hard to isolate, but a good entry point to address structural racism is to tackle inequality in education, employment, imprisonment, and social economic status. This link has been shown empirically. A 2017 study of all U.S. states found that high levels of structural racism and unemployment were associated with a 5% increase in infant mortality among Blacks versus whites, but low levels of structural racism in education were associated with a 10% reduction in the Black infant mortality rate compared with whites. Here's the thing though, racism is man-made. The good news is that if it has been built, it can be dismantled. Dismantling structural racism in healthcare can seem like a Herculean task, but it starts with 2 things. First, we must understand our nation's history and recognize that race is a social construct and racism as an ideology was invented to differentiate white people from those with different skin colors, creating a racial hierarchy that continues to this day. Second, we must become comfortable with asking the question, how is racism operating here? This simple question, when asked honestly and openly with curiosity and positive intent, can open the floodgates to change in any clinic, classroom, hospital, or home. In maternity care, a roadmap exists. From 2015 to 2017, the Alliance for Innovation on Maternal Health convened a national work group. The group reviewed reams of scientific evidence and developed what's known as a care bundle, or set of practices to reduce maternal racial and ethnic disparities in perinatal health. That bundle was recently published and provides concrete action steps that clinicians and health systems can take during pregnancy to identify, measure, understand, and begin to make change in racial inequities that occur during pregnancy and childbirth care. The bundle may signal progress, but it's not a panacea. It will take more than the bundle to undo the effects of racism on birth outcomes, including expanding the work beyond healthcare delivery systems to address payment reform, workforce diversity, and most importantly, listening to all mothers. Everyone deserves to feel safe, respected, cared for, and empowered during pregnancy and childbirth. Birth is at the core of the human experience. It is the deepest form of human connection and the ultimate antidote to dehumanizing policy or rhetoric. Birth binds us together, and ensuring safe births and strong families for all mothers starts with targeted efforts to lift up those who are most vulnerable. Too many Black mothers die in childbirth. We can fix that. This episode was written in conjunction with Katie Cosimano and Rachel Hardiman, who are 2016 Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Interdisciplinary Research Leaders Fellows. Interdisciplinary Research Leaders is a national program of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation led by the University of Minnesota.
Among all the causes of maternal mortality among Black women or women of color, structural racism happens to be the major and the main cause of death among these women. Research and other studies have proven and shown the severity of racism in the delivery of healthcare among women of color. There is no single advantage of Black women dying during childbirth. Why would we expect or even anticipate that someone comes in to have a baby and the person dies. This is a very painful situation. Carrying pregnancy for 9 months, women have to go through a lot. There is a lot of things that comes with pregnancy on its own. Some people are not even able to go to work. Some have to be confined to bed. Others miss their normal life, and everything changes within that 9-month period of pregnancy. Therefore, it's very, very crucial and very painful for a mom or a mother to walk into a hospital and not go home with a baby or die leaving the baby behind. In the video, Dr. Carol states the first step is to address the issue of racism, which is the main cause of racism. Definitely, yes, we need to address that, because if we don't, these women will keep dying, and only God knows when it's going to stop. But to some extent, we need to come up with a resolution and work towards it as human or as human race. Racism is a social construct and an ideology. It means that we as human beings came up with that concept by discriminating or categorizing or labeling people per their color or where they're coming from or which continent they were born in, which is not their fault. But we're all human beings, and we should all have equal rights and equal opportunity that is available to all of us. The racism therefore becomes a systemic allocation of resources and opportunity based on color or based on race. Therefore, we may even ask, how do we then address the issue of racism? In the challenge of maternal mortality among Black women, in as much as racism, it's a combination of prejudice and power, we can have workforce diversity within the healthcare system that may help address the issue. Functionalism theory proposes that society is in a task and all tasks are interdependent. Therefore, as humans, when we work or when we go to work, we are expected, or society expects something from us as being productive. Hence, if a woman walks into a health facility to access healthcare whilst pregnant, healthcare providers should be able to see beyond the color and provide the necessary care for the success of the birth and not setting the woman up for death. In conclusion, every mother deserves to experience safe and healthy delivery against all odds. Black women are dying for no apparent reason, which is very dehumanizing. Equal opportunity will result in equal outcomes for everyone, no matter all the other precipitating causes of maternal mortality, such as low income, lack of access to healthcare, and low educational background. Thank you.
I'm Austin, your coach, co-creator, and purpose partner. I am a proud LGBTQ advocate that is here to support and empower you to live your best queer and sober life. After going through my own personal transformation from addiction, I am now living a healthy and abundant life. I'm with you and will be a guide in helping you navigate your own personal path of recovery. Let's connect and co-create a reality that reflects your true, authentic self.
Hi,
My name's Austin, and I'm a grateful recovering addict. The first time I used crystal meth, I was 15 years old. This problem presented me with bitterness, misery, and suffering for 10 years. My arms and legs were covered with abscesses, and they were so infected that a friend dragged me to the hospital. In that moment, I decided I could no longer live that way, so I got into a sober living home, and my life improved. Now, I'm 2 years into recovery, and my setback of being a drug addict is now my greatest asset. My newfound freedom and autonomy of choice without an addiction dictating my actions has guided me to a life of service. This new path helped me realize the importance of community, advocacy, and leadership. After going through my own personal transformation from addiction and identity loss, I'm now living a healthy, abundant life and shifting the world in a positive way. The process of recovery has its difficulties, and I've experienced struggles that I was able to overcome. As a member of the LGBTQ community, I have faced social stigma, discrimination, and other challenges not encountered by people who identify as heterosexual. The dual stigma associated with being queer and an addict can be particularly harmful, especially when someone seeks treatment. When I got into sober living to get well, I had to come out all over again. Throughout my stay at this sober living home, I experienced social stigma and harassment. I never advocated for myself and did everything I was told, which led to me working for them as their alumni coordinator and a recovery coach. There's a big need for support after exiting treatment, and my role was to develop an aftercare program that fosters a community where alumni are given resources and a recovery wellness plan. When I was given this title, I began to gain a sense of my medicine and felt internally ready to share it with others. I started to get into my groove of leadership and empowerment, but eventually a subtle fear set in that I needed to be perfect in order to be fit for service. My ego started to control my life, and I hit a point in my recovery where I was losing my conscious self. I ended up having a relapse and hit a wall that could make anyone want to give up. I was so ashamed to see people, and I could not get my spirit back. The same members of the community I was so ashamed to see showed up for me in ways I cannot describe. In that moment, I realized that the real medicine is vulnerable truth and a community to share it with. When I shared my vulnerable truth, I noticed that it helped others to share their own truth. I recognized that the part of me that was a leader and a coach was still with me after the relapse. I learned that it is not about perfection. It is about integrating my shadow into my medicine and sharing it with the light. My journey has enabled me to develop the tools necessary to persevere and heal. I have truly made medicine out of my suffering that I can now share with others. This transformative process has been very communal, and my core values are a gift from mentorship. Without community, nothing is possible. Even if I don't achieve every goal I set, who I become and the qualities I develop on the journey are the true victories.
It's hard for me to understand how people who identify with the same religion, ethnicity, and language can be at war for perceived differences. I was born in Somalia, but I grew up in a Barbary refugee camp in Ethiopia. My family left Somalia when I was 7 years old because of the war being fought in my country and the violence surrounding us. It was not safe to stay, and the education wasn't good. Witnessing the murder of civilians and the mayhem in my country has had a large impact on my life. I can remember hearing gunfire and seeing dead bodies. The killing had become so frequent that people became so used to it. There was no sadness left for them to endure, and Many had lost everything they had. The traumatic experience haunt many Somalis, whether it be physically or mentally. This opened my eyes to the effects of violence on mental health and lasting impact it can have on the human psyche. I remember running away from my country towards a place where we would find security. My family and I took the bus to a refugee camp in Ethiopia. The first night, it rained. It was so cold. There were dogs surrounding us. As 7 years old, that was very scary. At first, we didn't know anything. Eventually, we found some people who spoke the same language and they had helped us out. I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters, and though we were safe from the war, there were still many obstacles. While in the camp, there were a lack of resource, including housing, food, and antiquated education. Food was distributed once a month for large families. This was very difficult. Sometimes getting good education could be hard, and I did not realize that until we moved out of our country to Ethiopia. Some people might take education for granted, but I know how it feels to have to stay home doing household chores instead of going to school. Where I came from, education is only for wealthy, and the quality of it is nothing compared to the United States education system. During my 7 years in the refugee camp, that 7 years felt like almost all my life. I witnessed the lack of medical resource available, especially in the field of mental health. I'm interested in mental health because of the apathy that overcame my country during the war. After witnessing so much violence, many became accustomed to it. There were few doctors, and they were not well trained. People were afraid they would die from sickness and disease because they could not get good medication, and sometimes no medicine at all. I saw many people with emotional and mental problems because they always had to worry about their basic life needs. I want to help young people gain the strength and resource to meet challenges because I know what it feels like to spend all your lifetime worrying. Life here is so much better, but some things are still not always the way that people would hope. I want to learn to help young people cope with the realities we all face. Now that I'm enrolled at the Community College of Denver, I plan to become a nurse. This scholarship will help me achieve my dreams as it will help me reduce some of my financial stress I have. I know it's a long road, but I have already traveled a great distance, both in miles and hard work to get where I am. I enjoy learning and I want to be well educated so I can help other people with their problems.
My name is Nikki Ngo. I lived part of my life in Vietnam. In 1995, when I was 13, my family moved to California, where I grew up, experiencing a completely new lifestyle. After high school, I went to San Jose City College and completed my associate degree. The biggest challenge I faced at the time was the language barrier and the American culture. However, my next challenge that I faced was becoming a mom. When my second child was 9 months, my family relocated to Denver, Colorado, starting a new life. We did not have any relative here, and my responsibility to create a home for us. For 4 years, I was a homemaker and a parent taking care of my family, not utilizing my education. When my kids started school, I found myself as sole parent and knew that I wanted to be part of the society. But I had lost confidence going to the workforce. I realized that I needed more education to pursue my career and a good foundation of education to support my children with their school. As a single mother, I understood that I do not have enough education to help me get a good job to meet my family financial need. Coming back to school has been challenging for me because I still have to work to pay for all the expenses. Being at work with this scholarship, it will help me meet the cost of going to school. Of course, life is not easy and I have experienced many difficulties. I am motivated to succeed, and I know that I have enough skill and courage to overcome the difficulty to be successful for myself, my family, and the society.
Hi, I'm Brian Dixon, Professor of English, and I'm introducing the Wildcard category of the Digital Storytelling Festival. This category creates space for risk-taking and creativity. Of course, all the digital stories have an element of creativity. Let's go ahead and look at the submissions.
A miniature sun dances around me. My mouth has swallowed itself. Language cannot find me. I know that I tiptoed my words. I wasn't about to say he struggled with addiction for years. My childhood was drowned in his need for booze. Or it's hard to pinpoint a time when he wasn't drinking. No, I was more polite. I said he struggled with demons. I didn't want anyone to get the wrong idea. Sure, he was a drunk, but when he wasn't drinking, he was a good man. So full of love. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Two different people in the same body. But I wasn't about to say that either. I didn't want strangers to judge him unfairly or to misinterpret my honesty for dislike. I was only 18 years old. I didn't know how to talk to a crowd about the complications of love and trust, about what it meant to grow up with an addict. I had only just graduated high school. I had no life experience, and suddenly my world was shrouded by death. My brothers didn't speak. They played music. I'll never forget that it wasn't anyone's words that broke me down, but the sound of my brothers playing the guitar. I can't remember the song, but I remember the feeling, as if all of the air had been taken out of me, sitting in the audience and drowning on land. Here we are so afraid to talk about death. It is only spoken about through black veils and tears at funerals. Otherwise, it is a hushed subject. We only speak about it if we absolutely have to. And if you talk about it outside of that, you're considered morbid or cynical. But isn't it more cynical to pretend that we're invincible? Not just physically, but emotionally. Why do we discourage sadness? When giving your eulogy, you're limited to keeping things light and comfortable. You can't get into the gritty, dark parts of life. No one wants to hear that. You don't want to get too real, so you keep it all on the surface. It's like making the most skillful of small talk. I probably couldn't have said the right things even if I wanted to. Your parents can end up being total strangers. But it's hard to get to know them when you're a kid. You forget that they were once a person all their own before becoming your parent. The other day, I found out that my dad was an artist. And apparently a good one. Such a simple fact, and I had no idea. It turns out that I was a stranger just like the rest of them. We all knew him, but only one piece at a time. All of us bringing our memories together to recreate the lost, to bring him back to life for just one brief moment. Maybe that's the point of eulogies. Honestly, I don't even remember everything I said. I didn't write it down or practice beforehand. How can you prepare for something like that? But I do know I ended on some hopeful note, verging on the cliche that life was complicated and cruel, but also strange and beautiful, all at once, like every one of us.
Hello, my name is Dr. Dan Schaefer. I'm the assistant journalism professor here at CCD. Let me talk a little bit about journalism. The journalism, digital storytelling are very close. I have a really close connection. I see the purpose of journalism as to see life and make sense of our world by sharing our stories.
During medieval times in the Philippines, the paler your skin was, the more status and the higher your position was in the community. This history sadly stems its roots into today's society in the Philippines, where women of lighter skin are seen as more attractive, wealthy, confident, and of a higher status. Women in the Philippines take dangerous health risks such as taking drips infused with lightning chemicals and using illegal creams and soaps that contain deadly amounts of mercury in them. Many have died or have experienced terrible conditions of mercury poisoning. Even the majority of makeup brands in the Philippines advertise using lighter shades of foundation and recruit models with lighter skin tones to promote that to be the standard of beauty. Developing a makeup brand that helps Filipino women embrace their natural beauty and skin tone without the dangers of harmful chemicals is crucial. Skin, a natural mineral makeup line, is a brand that's goal is to help reduce the stigma that lighter is more beautiful. It's a makeup brand with an ambition to change the Filipino mindset regarding beauty and helping women embrace and accept their natural tan complexion. Skin Beauty aims to provide free informational campaigns to raise awareness on this ongoing dangerous issue. The products will be sent from the US to the Philippines through an exporter. I found this to be the easiest way because both countries have had good export history with each other, in which they've exported and imported billions worth of dollars in the most recent years. Of course, like every country, there are certain barriers one should keep in mind when undergoing international business. First off is economic barriers. Since the majority are of low income in the Philippines, not everyone will be able to afford our products. We are trying to overcome this, however, by reducing our costs and making them as affordable as possible. Political barriers should also be taken into consideration. While the cost of importing and exporting is relatively cheap in the Philippines, it takes so much more time than other countries to transport these goods. And property registration also takes about 39 days to complete on average and can be extremely pricey. Of course, one of the most important barriers to be taken into consideration are the business and cultural differences barriers. Businesses in the Philippines are hierarchically oriented and top senior management make all major decisions. Filipinos value relationships, which might frustrate Americans when the majority of meetings are spent on small talk rather than an efficient, strictly work-related meeting. Of course, ethical barriers should be taken into consideration as well. In the Philippines, a handshake is a standard form of greeting for both men and for women. It is usually important to shake hands with everyone present, both upon arrival and departure. Titles are also very important in the Philippines. They're a sign of respect that should be used during business meetings. For example, refer to your partner as Dr. Sarah instead of Sarah. Social barriers. Building a good relationship is crucial to doing business in the Philippines. Doing business takes place in a calm manner. It's important to discuss general topics such as family life and show curiosity in the country and culture. Filipinos are very welcoming and may invite business partners to have dinner with their families. Humor plays an important role in relationship building, but it's important to avoid topics on politics and religion. And of course, last but not least is technological barriers. One example of a technological barrier in the Philippines is language barriers, which play a huge part in business. In Filipino culture, it is very rarely that they will say no to prospective business partners, which is why it is important to pay attention to body language.
I'm also the co-faculty advisor of the Digital Storytelling Club. First, let's talk about the Digital Storytelling Club. We're a CCD student-run organization here on campus. We meet once a month, and we are interested in all things digital storytelling. So we're interested in cinema and film, editing techniques, and digital storytelling techniques, and technology. How do you capture those stories? Film and audio, all of these things we learn about. We hold workshops and try to engage other CCD students. Now, the students in the club range from absolute beginners, people who have maybe made a TikTok video, to more advanced students who have actually developed programs or digital storytelling videos before. So we cover a wide range, and so everyone is welcome. All CCD students are welcome to join the club. Let me tell you a little bit about one direction that the club wants to head in is, or grow in, is in developing digital storytelling from non-native English speakers. So if you are not, your ESL or you're interested in that direction, come join the club. You're going to be welcome. How do you get involved in the club? Just contact me, daniel.schaefer@ccd.edu, and we'll get you connected with the other students at our monthly meetings. To get involved, just contact me.
Now for a quick ad break. Loving all the stories you've watched? Feeling inspired to make your own? Want to seem tech savvy for that video project you've been assigned in class? Well, stop on by to the Digital Zone for tutoring and basic technology help. We provide support over things like video creation in WebEx, to other computer help like with D2L, CCD Connect, and all of the Microsoft apps. So if you want to take your work up a notch, come check us out over at ccd.edu/excel. Now to throw it over to Dr. Ann Macaulay.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Ann Macaulay, Director of the Excel Zone where digital storytelling lives. Today I have the honor and privilege of introducing Dr. Everett Freeman, a long-standing supporter of digital storytelling. Together, we believe in the importance of digital storytelling as an engagement tool or deep learning tool because of its ability to influence curriculum and learning outcomes. Now, for a few words from Dr. Freeman.
Hi, folks. I'm Everett Freeman, and I'm the president here at the Community College of Denver. Although, actually, as you know, I'm not at the campus, I'm at home. But I'm using this moment to congratulate all of the students and all of the faculty who are involved in digital storytelling. You know, we're people of the story. Since the days that human beings emerged from Homo sapiens and Homo erectus, we have become, and we continue to become, a tribe of storytellers. And the digital stories is the way that we in the modern era continue to tell those stories. I've seen stories that have been exhilarating and heartbreaking all at the same time. I've seen stories produced by students who have shown me the inner soul that motivates them, that keeps them going. I've seen digital stories with children of those students involved, with parents of those students involved. In every digital story I have seen, in every way, shape, or form that it has been produced, it has provided a glimpse of what CCD is. And CCD is, in every respect, the students, the faculty, and those of you who bring your experience to each digital story, a magnificent testimonial to grit, to determination, and to love. And I want to thank you and commend you for the digital stories that you produced this year in 48 sections in circumstances that were never easy, but you used the moment in a magnificent and a marvelous way. So congratulations, and we'll get through this, I promise you. Go City Hawks.